Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. And I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I'm having deja vu because for the second straight Friday night, a massive blockbuster has gone down in the NHL. Last week it was Mikko Rantanen. Now it is JT Miller. At least with this one, like we knew right off the bat it was JT Miller last week, going from, oh, Taylor Hall is going to Carolina to Mikko Rantanen as well as heading there. We were kind of prepared for this blockbuster, and obviously this one did not come out of nowhere compared to Mikko Rantanen. JT Miller has finally been traded to the New York Rangers. Thankfully, this saga for all parties involved basically is now over. Here's the full details from BR Open Ice, who got this from a New York Post reporter. New York gets JT Miller, Eric Brandstrom, Jackson Dorrington, who's a 2022 sixth-round pick that's probably not going to turn into anything. Vancouver gets Filipino, Victor Mancini, a first-round pick that is top 12 or top 13 protected. First, we're going to go through it for the New York Rangers. I think the first thing that we need to acknowledge, this is kind of a desperation last heave for Chris Drury when looking at the fact that he has a shit ton of pressure under him. This team is currently out of a playoff spot. I cannot see any world where if the New York Rangers miss the playoffs, Chris Drury keeps his job, considering he inherited that core back in 2021. And although he did do some decent things, it has just been it has been total turmoil this season for the New York Rangers. So he's going out on the open market. He's saying JT Miller is the one guy that I can get for relatively cheap, and he could have a massive ceiling for this team. When looking at JT Miller, if he gets back on track, this could be a great deal for the New York Rangers. I am not denying that. This is a guy that had 103 points last year, making only $8 million. But there is massive risk with this trade, considering you are not in a playoff spot right now, and you're giving up a first-round pick. One, because if you just barely miss the playoffs and it's 14th, 15th, 16th overall, that pick is very valuable. And then if you're within the top 13 in the draft, it rolls into unprotected next year. When looking at their playoff odds, this comes from Dom Luchuzen, or I don't really know exactly how to pronounce that last name, but Dom, great follow on Twitter. He said that, or according to his model, New York only raises from 36% to 44% based on acquiring JT Miller. So although I would maybe have them at like 50, 55%, this, let alone contending at a high level, this might not even get the New York Rangers back into the playoffs. The main problem with this team is not the forward core. Although guys like Zibanejad and Kreider have been so disappointing, it is definitely more so on the defensive side and how their forwards play defense. JT Miller can be better than defensively than Mika Zibanejad, but he is by no means Selke level. So this season, I don't think it's really going to move the needle. Maybe they could upset the Washington Capitals if they get them in the first round. If they play Florida would absolutely dismantle them, and I think even Toronto would probably dismantle them coming out of a wild card matchup. So in terms of this season, this just seems like a desperation heave. You give up potentially the 14th overall pick, a late lottery pick it could be, in Filipino, who isn't anything special, but still a young guy, still a cost-controlled guy for JT Miller, who still has 5 more seasons at $8 million. Again, I see the vision. It could be great. JT Miller could be awesome for this team, but it just reeks of desperation, and there is so much downside with the potential acquisition of the with a potential. Sorry, I'm losing my mind. This just really came out of nowhere, of JT Miller. So I'm not that big on it for the New York Rangers, and especially this really dwindles their window, considering you give up a first-round pick that was expected to be decently high, and now your forward core is Miller, 32 years old, Panarin, 33 years old, Zibanejad, 31, Kreider, 33, Trocheck, 31. Their defense core is relatively young, but outside of Adam Fox, I don't really like that defense core that much. But yeah, they're an old team. Lafreniere has been kind of shit ever since he signed that extension. Will Cooley has really cooled down. No pun intended. But yeah, the New York Rangers are truly cup or bust in a season where they might not even make the goddamn playoffs. So yeah, again, I see the vision, but it just reeks of desperation. And what is so weird about this is 2 weeks ago, or was it a week ago? I don't even remember at this point. But it was reported that the deal almost happened, and it was Hedel, a first-round pick, and Ryan Lindgren, which Ryan Lindgren's a negative asset at $4.5 million. How does it go from that to then just Victor Mancini, kind of just a depth replacement guy? How do you potentially move off of $4.5 million for a guy that's playing like a $2 million defenseman, maybe just a league minimum defenseman, to that not being at all in it? Instead, you get a worse deal after it really boils into the public with the Vancouver Canucks. So for that, I'm really confused from that angle for the New York Rangers. How did they not get more leverage after all these reports came out with Vancouver and everything spilled publicly? So yeah, from a New York Rangers perspective, I think I would give it like a B-. I definitely see the upside, and if you're New York, you might as well try something. I don't know if I would try something on this magnitude, given the fact of what they gave up and JT Miller's just potential aging curve that we might be seeing this year. I do think that it is more so the locker room that is why he's playing so bad, but there is something to him being 32 years old. So yeah, I don't exactly love this for the New York Rangers. I'm not even trying to be biased against the New York Rangers. I think I provided you the adequate reasoning why I think that this just reeks of a desperation move. I think I've said that 5 times. Moving on for Vancouver. I like this a decent amount, considering the fact, if it was just isolated, JT Miller is the player, $8 million cap hit, and coming off a 103-point season, you think that maybe this is a little bit underwhelming. Getting Philip Hedl, that's a middle six guy that's good when he plays, but he's extremely injury prone, and you only get a first round pick. But I think when you factor in that first round pick, again, it might be in the late teens. And JT Miller was a locker room cancer, it seems like, in Vancouver. If this leads to Elias Pettersson finally getting back on track, finally being worth that $11.6 million yet again, I think that this is a big win for the Vancouver Canucks. And also, they could flip that first-round pick, considering by trading Miller, they're kind of punting on this season. So they're going to have their own pick that easily could be, top 14, top 12. So you could either use both picks, restock your prospect pool. They have guys like Lecker, Maki, and Willander. You pick up 2, although I don't love this draft, after 10th overall, basically after 8th overall. Still, you could restock your prospect pool and then just get younger. You obviously chose Pettersson over Miller. You want to get younger. You're prioritizing the future. You're not giving up quite on this core. So you use those picks. You either trade one of those picks or maybe trade both of those picks to get a guy that fits more so with the core. And in terms of winning next season, because this season is kind of cooked, you got to reevaluate on Thatcher Demko. I get all of that. But yeah, for Vancouver, given, again, how much this bled into the public to still get an effective guy that's only 25 years old, cost-controlled. Again, I don't love Philip Hedl, given that injury history with the concussions. He's had 3 major ones. He's still a very good player. I believe he only makes $4.2 million. He can easily be worth that. It would not surprise me if he has a Capo Caco great finale to this season and is clicking at 60-point pace down the line, because he's definitely going to elevate, probably play some second-line roles. But yeah, I like it for Vancouver. I continuously said when I made all the videos about them, you trade JT Miller, you trade the 32-year-old that seems to be kind of the hothead that it appears like not only Pettersson, but maybe Miller and Tocchet to a degree don't get along with. You side with Pettersson, because Pettersson still has that potential when he's at his best to be that number 1 center on a legit Stanley Cup winning team. Miller maybe has a higher floor than Elias Pettersson, but he's 32 years old. He's not going to be there for the long term. Doesn't fit as much with the core of a Quinn Hughes. And Quinn Hughes, you just want to keep Quinn Hughes happy. And by making this trade, although maybe Quinn Hughes won't be happy at the end of this season when you're on pace for 88 points, I think that this is the smart move for the Vancouver Canucks in terms of accumulating assets, getting younger, and worrying about the following season. And having the cap space, that's the other thing. I believe they didn't retain any money on this. He only makes around $4 million. So you pick up around $4 million in cap space. I forgot to mention it with the New York Rangers. Eric Brancham could maybe be a decent pick. He has great analytics, but he's a smaller guy, and coaches just don't really trust him out there. I don't really know if he screams a Laviolette player, considering Zach Jones barely plays for the New York Rangers, but I just want to include that. Brancham, I think, maybe could be something in New York. Victor Mancini, I don't really expect as much from. He's probably at best going to be a number 6 defenseman for the Vancouver Canucks. But yeah, I like this a decent amount for the Vancouver Canucks. Maybe they get creative this offseason if they have the 12th and the 15th overall pick. But yeah, considering this isn't some late first-round pick that they maybe would have got from a Carolina in a trade, this could be a valuable asset. And especially if it rolls over to next year and New York fires Drury, has a shit ton of dysfunction, it's going to be very interesting. My total grades for this, I think I would go with the Vancouver Canucks a B+. Again, applying the context, applying the toxic situation to get this return. Very good work by Patrick Allvin. And for the New York Rangers, I'm going to go with a B-. High ceiling with this trade, low floor. This is very big risk, very big reward for the New York Rangers. Do I think it's going to work out? Probably not. Do I hope it's going to work out? Hell no. But yeah, it's going to be definitely interesting. It's crazy. This season has been absolutely nuts with the Trouba, Kakko, Mikko Rantanen, Cam Fowler getting traded out of nowhere. He's been awesome. This trade has been this season has been absolutely bonkers in terms of trades. And we're still like a month away from the trade deadline, although a lot of guys look like they might not end up getting moved because there's such a close Eastern Conference wildcard race. I'm just excited for all of this. This has just been awesome to cover. This is by far the craziest season that I have ever covered. But let me know in the comments, what do you think about this trade? What grades would you give these respective teams? I understand if people are higher on New York, but again, they're so far out of the playoffs even right now. They got to go on some type of heater. Not saying they're not capable of that, but they need to, or else this trade is going to look very, very bad. I'll be seeing the next one. Peace.